Have you ever wondered why no matter how hard you try, that stubborn belly fat just won't budge? You're not alone. The problem is, most approaches miss the real issue. You see, I've helped hundreds of busy dads lose their dad gut and reclaim their health without exercise, extreme diets, counting calories, or even giving up alcohol. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you can do the same and keep it off for good. This approach isn't based on any trending fads or weird tactics. It's actually a proven method that's worked for me and every single one of my clients who've gone through it. And most of them are busy professional dads. We're going to be going into the shocking truths about how your body reacts to diets, the science behind fat loss, as well as why most men fail at losing their belly fat. Then I'm going to give you a simple step-by-step plan so that you can start today. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand what's been holding you back and how you can finally start seeing real, lasting results. This video could be the turning point that you've been waiting for. So let me tell you something that you won't hear from most experts and coaches out there right now. Extreme diets are actually making you fatter. Take my client Aki, for example. He's a 52-year-old father. He tried every diet out there. He tried keto, carnivore, even intermittent fasting. He would lose weight on these diets, but it would always come back on. Here's what most men unfortunately don't realize. When you cut calories too much and you undereat, your body actually goes into a survival mode. And what it does is it holds onto your fat stores. So when you drastically cut calories, your body doesn't just burn fat, it actually slows down your metabolism to hold on to those energy stores, to conserve energy. And over time, this makes fat loss a lot harder. And even if you lose weight to start off with, your body will still fight to gain it back. And studies have shown that when men who cut calories too aggressively, their resting metabolic rate drops significantly. That means that even when they go back to eating normally, their body burns fewer calories, making fat gain a lot harder and inevitable. So instead of starving yourself, I want you to focus on having a decent volume of nutrient-dense food that fills you up to about 80 to 90% of your fullness levels, where that way you're not feeling deprived or overly hungry, but you're fueling your metabolism, not shutting it down. That way it stays elevated all the time. When Aki stopped the extreme dieting and started eating more, in 6 weeks, what he was able to do was lose 19.8 pounds or 9 kilos and 7.5 centimeters of fat. His metabolism started working for him, not against him. A much more enjoyable and a much more sustainable approach that he can enjoy for the rest of his life, not for a short period of time like most diets. Most people think that their metabolism is broken, but the truth, dieting is what's breaking it. Picture your metabolism as a car engine. If you give it the right fuel and keep it running, it stays efficient. But if you constantly run it on fumes, just like extreme dieting, it goes into a low power mode, burning less fuel to survive. And then when you suddenly fill up the tank again, it stores that extra energy as fat instead of using it. That's why dieting without the right strategy leads to frustrating plateaus and weight regain. Metabolic adaptation or adaptive thermogenesis happens when your body slows down that calorie burn in response to prolonged dieting. It's a survival mechanism that God designed to keep you from starving. When you lose muscle due to this type of dieting, which you typically would, your metabolism will slow down even more because muscle is your fat burning engine. It helps you burn calories even when you're asleep. So the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism remains, constantly elevated. And that's why I love building muscle. It raises my metabolism even when I'm sleeping. And without it, losing fat becomes a losing battle. So instead of focusing on just cutting out the calories, focus on preserving your muscle too. So instead of fighting against your metabolism, you're now priming it to work efficiently, which will lead to steady, long-term fat loss without those frustrating plateaus that you may have experienced. Once you focus on real science-backed habits like this, rather than the latest trends, the weight will shed a lot quicker. And if you want to discover exactly how you could lose 10 to 35 pounds in 6 weeks without having to sacrifice your time or your favorite foods, click the first link in the description to watch my free training video where I go over it. Guys, if you've been trapped in that yo-yo dieting cycle, let me be blunt. It's not just frustrating, it's making fat loss harder every time you try. So I had a client called Nick who had been dieting on and off for years. He'd lose about 20 to 30 pounds by cutting carbs or doing like extreme calorie restriction. But every time he stopped, the weight would pile back on, except this time his belly looked even worse. Why? Because every crash diet would strip away muscle and would reduce his metabolism, making fat loss even harder. Yo-yo dieting doesn't just fail, it wrecks your metabolism. And when you slash calories too aggressively, your body burns muscle for energy. When you regain the weight, it's mostly fat. And over time, this cycle ends up making it harder to lose weight, and it'll make it easier to store fat. That's not what we want. Research from the National Institutes of Health shows that repeated cycles of weight loss and regain lead to increased fat storage and decreased muscle mass over time. This is why every diet feels harder than the last. So hopefully you understand that you need to ditch the extreme dieting. Instead, I want you to focus on muscle preservation while eating enough to fuel your body. Having 3 decent meals with your plate filled with nutrient-dense foods, high in protein, moderate in carbs, and low in fat. This approach keeps your metabolism high and makes fat loss sustainable. So when Nick stopped starving himself and started to focus on eating this way, with a moderate rather than extreme approach, everything changed. And over 6 months, he actually lost 57 pounds of fat, and he didn't gain it all back. What if I told you that you could lose belly fat while still eating the foods that you love, without starving yourself or cutting out entire food groups? I used to struggle with the idea of, giving up pizza nights or a scotch with my mates in order to get lean and maintain it. So I decided to stop the extreme restrictions, and I needed to find a way that would allow me to enjoy my food and still shed that belly fat. So I came up with what I call the habit sustainability formula. This is where you make some small improvements over a number of different habits that you're currently already doing. So whatever you're currently doing, make some adjustments, and when they all add up, they make a significant difference with your fat loss, but not just with your lifestyle. Things like making sure that your meal choices are lean and portions are under control. That way you stop eating as well before feeling full, or even things like drinking, increasing your water intake, avoiding those soft sugary drinks and soda, and reducing your alcohol, or even with your snacks, making sure that your snacks aren't high in fat and aren't calorie dense, or even managing stress and getting quality sleep. These both directly impact your belly fat storage. And then meal planning and preparation, making sure you got some structure, that way you're not making last minute choices. And this is not essential, but if you can do it, do some weight training 3 times a week. It'll elevate your metabolism and keep it high for the entire week. When I ditched extreme dieting and focused on optimizing my habits, I lost 10 pounds of belly fat without giving up my favorite foods or feeling deprived. If you're tired of gimmicks and ready for real results, it's time to get serious. One of my clients, Michael, he had been taking a weight loss drug called Ozempic, you might be familiar with this, for years. He initially lost some weight, but then not only plateaued, he actually started to feel sick from it and could no longer rely on it. So he had to get off it. Plus, it wasn't that effective anymore. When he came to me, he started implementing this habit sustainability formula. We helped him build real sustainable habits that would last him for life. Things like clean eating, drinking, proper hydration, and good sleep. He started losing weight again. And within that first week, he actually got results. Drugs and supplements are not the magic pills they promise to be. The truth is, they don't work unless you have the right foundation in place. Without the proper health habits in place, your body simply isn't set up to burn fat effectively. These drugs can mask your appetite and hunger cues, causing detriment to your metabolism because you're not feeding your body adequately and at the right time, which means you risk putting it in starvation mode, which, as I mentioned earlier, it means holding on to those fat stores. When you're sleep deprived, your hunger hormones, ghrelin, which triggers appetite, and leptin, which signals fullness, also gets out of balance. And this makes it harder to resist cravings and lose belly fat. It's not just about what you eat, it's also about giving your body the right conditions and environment to thrive. Because research shows that sleep deprivation not only increases your hunger hormones, but also affects your body's ability to burn fat. So prioritizing sleep and focusing on muscle building through strength training are two key factors in successful fat loss. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn, even when you rest. So here's how to fix it. I want you to track your progress by measurements, not just the scales. The number on the scale isn't always an accurate reflection of fat loss, especially if you're building muscle. So instead, or in addition, measure your waist circumference, your body fat percentage, and my favorite is just look in the mirror and see the difference. It'll give you a clear picture of your transformation. You also need to set clear goals, both short-term goals and long-term goals, and establish also the reasons why you want to achieve them. This is going to help you push through the challenges when you face them. Focus on habits, not quick fixes. Stop relying on pills, on shortcuts, and build sustainable habits. Like I've mentioned, consuming nutrient-dense foods, lean protein, lean carbs, add lots of vegetables to your plate. They're low in calories, low in fat, high in nutrition and vitamins. Drink 2.5 liters of water or 85 ounces a day. Reduce alcohol and sugary drinks. They're empty calories and not good for your health. Get about 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night. That way it supports the fat loss. And even you can catch up if you end up missing out on 1 or 2 hours of sleep. So my client Michael stopped wasting money on gimmicks. He focused on building habits that worked. And in just 6 weeks, he actually lost 27.7 pounds of belly fat without relying on the drugs, without relying on quick fixes, or falling for the latest fat burning trend. This video is just scratching the surface. After helping over 400 busy professional dads and being in this industry for over 25 years, it's important to realize that everyone is different, and your body, it's a complex system that is unique to you, but you must learn about if you truly do want to lose your belly fat and have better health overall. That's why I've created an in-depth free training video that'll show you how to lose 10 to 35 pounds in just 6 weeks without exercise, extreme diets, or sacrificing your time. Click the first link in the description to watch it and get started on your first step to actually getting the results that you want. See you there. There's many tiny mistakes that you could be making that are sabotaging your progress. You must avoid these if you really want to better your health and truly feel confident in your dream body. So click on this video right here to make sure that one of these mistakes isn't stealing your progress. And remember, look after yourselves so you can look after your family.